Hello and welcome to day 10 of the 12 days of Yule. I hope you've been following along, and if this is your first time here, today we're going to be talking about real self-care. And I thought it might be interesting to have a real-time conversation. And so I've invited my life partner, my sweet wife Amy, to join us. Hi, honey. So, what do you think about when you hear the term self-care?
Wow, I think about how to go to the gym, to sleep, get enough sleep, to eat healthy, that kind of thing.
Yeah? Let me talk to you a little bit about this term self-care and see if it comes to you a little differently. So, self-care can be described as what you do to take care of yourself in lieu of reaching outside of you.
Yep.
So this is not about going to your doctor. This is not about talking to your therapist.
Okay,
so when you think about the term self-care, and I know it's become sort of a buzzword right now, you know, and I always go to like, take a bubble bath, get a massage, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, when you're talking about self-care to yourself, what is underneath it?
Well, I think what's interesting, Valerie, is if you had asked me this question a year ago, my first answer would have been go to the gym, how I eat, get enough sleep, right? But now that I've really started to pay attention to my emotional health, I would answer that question very differently.
Yeah, how so?
Yeah, I think for me, you know, when I deal with anxiety or stress or depression or any of those kinds of feelings that are uncomfortable for me, I have this hole in my stomach and I'm used to filling it with something. And what I've noticed since I've been paying attention to my emotional care is to try and start filling it instead of with numbing out, too much TV, alcohol, working late, things like that, that I'm trying to replace, to stay with the feeling, to understand it and process through it and not be in a rush. I mean, to understand it, be comfortable sitting with it, and practice other things that will help me to work through that feeling.
Wow, this sounds like a real light bulb moment for you.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the last 3 months, it's been incredible. It's like, holy crap.
And you've been doing a good job, attending to it. I know that for me, I think about, I need to kind of know that I need self-care before I hit the skids, you know? So I have to look for those early warning signs. And you know, like for me, it's my shoulder gets jacked up. I start trying to micromanage everybody. I get really judgmental. I start taking everybody's inventory and trying to fix everybody else's life instead of attending to what I need. I'm wondering if you've noticed any early warning signs.
I have. I pick at my cuticles and my eyebrows. I withdraw and want to stay in bed and power watch TV. I stop hanging out with friends. I'm less interested in socializing with friends. And what's interesting is oftentimes you see the warning signs for me before I see the warning signs for me. And so it's been super helpful to have someone that loves me and cares about me kind of gently nudge me and say, hey, what's going on? Or do you need a whatever?
Right. You do that for me too. You notice
when we learned over 8 years how to help each other.
Yeah, definitely. The other time that I really know that I need self-care in sort of a deeper way is that I start getting depressed. And I know that lots of the folks who have been with us over the long haul with Tea and Tarot, we've talked about depression and anxiety and social anxiety and lots of things that other, outside entities would give you a diagnostic label for. But, and we don't really prescribe to that as much. But is there an emotional barometer for you with some of your harder emotions like depression or anxiety?
Well, I think the triggers for me are different, right?
Ooh.
I think for me, I think the depression has been something I've carried on my back with a huge weight for many, many years. So emotions or childhood things or relationship things that are years long-standing that I have not addressed. As compared to the anxiety, it comes and goes situationally, depending on my ability to deal with a hard situation in a healthier way than what I've learned how to do as an adult.
That's fascinating to me, because when I look back through my earth life lived experience, I know that I got super depressed after I had my first child at 18. But back in 1980, we weren't really talking about postpartum depression. They called it the baby blues. Do you remember that at all?
Well, no, because I've never had a child.
Okay. So number one, I got really sick after I had Jeannie. I had, they called it walking pneumonia. And then I got really depressed, and I was living with my mom. And my mom, who had 5 children and was this extraordinary mother, just sort of stepped in and took care of everything with the baby, with Jeannie. And, it really sort of created a wound for me around depression, and that I don't get to be cared for in that, I'm in that alone, but other people are going to help me take care of my baby, but they're going to be disappointed in me for not having it together. So it's just interesting when you talk about those older wounds underneath it for depression, because I think I share that with you. Yeah. So I'm wondering, what's the self-care that maybe you overlook? You're trying to do all the other things, exercise, eat right, sleep right, blah, blah, blah. But is there something that sort of you overlook, and then once you do it, you say, oh my gosh, that felt so good?
I think it was, first off, I went to see my doctor, and we talked about what was going on in my environment, what was going on in my life. It takes 2 parts of the equation to keep ourselves healthy. It's the environment we choose to be in, and it's how we take care of ourselves physically and emotionally. And therapy was missing. Someone to talk to that I didn't need to worry that they would end up worrying more about me, because when I'm upset, I carry that emotional lot, right?
Right.
So I shove it down and I don't share it because I know it's going to make you anxious, right?
Yeah.
And so having someone to talk to, going to therapy, has been really helpful for me. But it was for the anxiety that I've been having for the last several months. It was recognizing that there's a feeling that's in my belly, that I feel right here, that my hands start to shake, that I have all those physical symptoms, that I feel out of control, right? And so paying attention, okay, what is that feeling? And how do I unpack that feeling in a way so I can release it? And there's some things that require therapy, but there's some other tactics and tools that I've learned recently that have been helping me how to cope. So it's paying attention to what is causing that feeling, and being prepared to sit in that discomfort with it for a while. And I didn't want to be uncomfortable, so I hadn't done that.
Right. Because sometimes real self-care is about sitting with yourself in the discomfort until you locate what's really going on, instead of just knee-jerk, oh, I don't like this feeling. I better take a bath. I better blah, blah, blah. I got to get on this self-care. Otherwise, I'm a bad witch, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I think that that's interesting. And I also noticed that when you spend playful time with like your sister or another friend that you haven't seen in a while.
And I neglect my friendships.
Yeah, it's like, it's almost like you get a sip of that magical potion of friendship and you're like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot I needed that.
Right. Yep. Wonderful. And for me as an introvert, having that one-on-one interaction is really good for me.
Yeah,
What's
definitely.
interesting is when I was a kid, we had, like every family, some situations, and it was hard days and good days. But what I learned when I was a kid was how to numb out, and that's how I took care of myself.
Yep.
And there was a rocking chair in our kitchen, and I would go and I would rock and I would be gone. I would just numb out, right? And that's how I took care of myself. And as an adult, that doesn't fly, right? So I've had to untrain myself in that is a coping mechanism in how to deal with depression and anxiety and whatnot.
Right. What does Brene Brown say in her work? Like, you have to recognize when something that's soothing, like it's okay to go to the rocking chair for like a small amount of time to sort of locate yourself and figure it out. But it's like, at what point does self-soothing become numbing behavior?
Right.
Where, I think that that's important. For me, I tend to do just the opposite. Like, I couldn't sit in a rocking chair. I would be like, I'm gonna clean something. I'm gonna cook something. I'm gonna do my way into it. And for me, sometimes I need to be reminded, like, ooh, chill.
So for you, it's chill, and for me, it's moving my body. That's what moves it through me. So that's getting out and walking the dog and washing the dishes, just getting up and doing anything. In yoga, Jeannie taught us a few things that were super helpful. One that helps me to move anger, and one that helps me to move, sadness. And it was like this, I'm probably going to get it wrong, but it was just like, right? And that motion in my body and that sound, it helped to move that anger out of me.
Oh, yeah. Because sometimes in order to take care of yourself and to even know what you need, you have to be able to move through some hard emotion to get to the heart of what's really going on.
Yep.
Yeah. I get that a lot. I get that deeply. I think that it also is really interesting that you and I have these opposite styles.
Yeah. We're very different people.
And that's why I think that we both need our friendships outside of our relationship, because you have people that are more your style, and I get together with people who are more my style. And then when we come back together, it's sort of like we're refreshed.
It's super helpful.
Yeah.
It's super helpful. All those people that stood up with us when we got married and keep showing up on the good days and the bad days and help us work through them.
Yeah.
It's like those are important people, relationships to nurture.
Yeah, let's give them virtual
Props.
high fives to our tribe.
You know who you are.
One of the things that I have noticed lately is this cultural narrative of like, well, if you're not going to take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody else. And it really is like a shame aggravator for me. It's like, oh, I can't take care of my family. Must be I haven't taken care of myself very well. And it really starts me on this shamey little narrative. I'm wondering, do you get anything from that, like, self-care mandate that pop psychology has right now?
No, I mean, I've heard that, that phrase, put your own air mask on first before you can help anybody else. Right. If you're passed out, you're not going to be able to help anybody. Right. So I get that, but I gotta say I don't carry a lot of shame with,
self-care.
With helping other people. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm kind of talking about that feeling like, I don't know, I got tons of messages as a kid, and especially through organized religion, that you were supposed to take care of other people first. Like you were supposed to put yourself at the end of the list.
Right. Especially if you're a parent.
Oh God.
Right? It's like everybody else, and then you get the scraps that are left at the end of the day. Yeah,
but now we have sort of this shifting cultural narrative, and especially for parents now, I think that it's hard, like, if you're not taking care of yourself, then you're not doing the best for your child, that kind of thing. And, it's just hard to fit everything in the day. And I don't think we need another layer of shame on self-care.
I mean, at any given day, you need to assess the situation and see where your energy needs to go.
Exactly.
Right? But we also have to be good role models for our kids too. Right?
Yeah.
So I need to right now be demonstrating doing the things for self-care to show that I'm accountable and that it works, and this is what it looks like to actually do it, to make the effort.
Exactly. And if you have little children, I would like to recommend a book. It's called 5 Minutes Peace, and it's got a little elephant family. I don't know the author right off the top of my head, but it's all about the mama elephant who's trying to get 5 minutes peace. And by the end of the book, she gets 3 minutes and 25 seconds or something like that of peace in the bathtub.
Yeah.
But it's just an interesting thing. It's a conversation we need to open up with our family members right from the time our kids are small, that like, I need to take care of myself too. I take care of you, you take care of you, your other parent takes care of you, or your grandparent takes care of you, and this is my time to take care of me. I think it's a really good lesson to grow up with. Instead of a rude awakening that we seem to label as #adulting these days.
And I think there's some things we can do that it's not a take care, it's not an or you or me take care of, right? It's an and. Like some of the stuff we've done at home here.
Such a good point.
The hygge, right?
Yeah.
The fireplace, music, things that smell good, how we light with candles. I mean, those kinds of things are things that is not just focused on one person, but it helps us all.
Yeah, it does help us as a group. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was self-care for me being the goddamn truth. And if I'm trying to alleviate the wrong thing, and this goes back to how I can become kind of judgmental. Like when I'm trying to fix your life or Devin's life
or
Natalie's life or any of your lives,
right.
I'm an equal opportunity projector. I think that I go through this process of lying to myself about what's really going on and what really needs to get fixed or cared for. Do you do that? Do you lie to yourself about, like, if these people would just get their shit together, then I would be able to do self-care?
Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, it's pretty common.
It's easy to put the blame outside rather than own it.
Yeah. So some of the things that I do, obviously you know this, but you might not know this, but some of the things that I do for myself to like really get down to the truth of the matter is that I'll do a tarot spread for myself called The Goddamn Truth. And we can put a link to it in the comments. But sometimes I just need to get clearer on what's really going on for myself, so that then I know how to nourish myself, how to, quell my fears, or whatever the step that is given to me. Another thing that usually leads me to is a little meditation and a request for a truth teller. I did this past week. I had a situation come up in my life, and I needed a truth teller. I needed somebody who I felt safe with. And I just asked in my prayer practice, who do I need to talk to? And Ann Danger's name came to me, and you know, Ann's great, but like if you were to name my truth tellers, would Ann be one that you thought of right away? No, you'd probably think of like Jeannie or Anaya or
people who are physically in the same space as you.
Exactly, right. And she lives some ways away.
Right.
But I heard her name clear as a bell. I actually texted her and said, I have this going on in my life. Do you have time for a short conversation?
Yeah.
And she got back to me right away and said yes, and actually said that her partner was there taking care of their small son, and so it was a really good time for her to talk.
Cool.
And so I think that you shouldn't overlook kind of the offering and requesting. Who do I need to talk to right now? I need to know the truth about this situation and how I can take care of myself. Who can I speak to? And really listen for those specific names. You know, you might have to wait a few minutes, but those are the kind of real self-care practices that don't get all the media hype. You know, it's not like, you know, go to a spa for the weekend or something like that, because I'll tell you, talking about something I need to talk to does not feel like a spa vacation to me.
No, I recently went through a 360 feedback thing at work, and talk about the goddamn truth, right?
Yeah.
You hear it, and so it's very humbling, and it's so helpful in our private, personal relationships to be able to have people that can help us work through that in a productive way. Exactly.
And my rule for being a truth teller is say what you mean what you say, but don't say it meanly.
Yeah.
You know, and there's ways to let people know, hey, you have this little behavior going on here. And I think it's causing you a little bit of trouble right now. Instead of, well, I'm just going to tell you the truth because nobody else will tell you. And it's very different for the receiving of that information. Yeah.
I think the other thing when we talk about self-care is, at the end of the day, I'm responsible for me. Yeah. Right?
Yep.
You can't fix me. If you can bring me to the water's edge, but if I'm not ready to drink it, you know I'm stubborn. Then don't beat yourself up, because I have to be a willing participant. I have to own my stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? So it can be
just as much as when I have a meltdown and you sort of know that I just need to do that process. It doesn't have anything to do with you.
Don't take it personally.
Don't take it personally.
Yep.
You know, I think that that's one of the things that we've learned about each other, is that we have these little things that happen that we need to attend to, and you know, hopefully we dance a little lighter with it these days.
Dance lighter. You know, online we see a lot of folks with questions in life events that are happening, and a lot of those situations, paying attention to that hole and how you fill it and how you approach, you know, how I approach those situations and doing them more productively, but also recognizing if I can do my piece, but the environment's not a healthy one, then I need, you know, identify if I need to make some changes in my environment.
Absolutely.
Don't rename that. I'm very happy with you.
I wasn't, honey.
Okay,
I
good,
wasn't,
good.
honey.
Yeah.
Because I know you can't live without me. So anyhow, I would love to hear in the comments, what are your real self-care practices? Like, it's nice to have the self-soothing ones, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with self-soothing. I'm just saying when it gets crunchy, and hopefully more and more before it gets that bad, when you need real self-care, what is it that you reach for? What is the the antidote that starts you turning in a different direction. And if you put that in the comments, we would really appreciate it. Also, you can tell us what you don't like about self-care. Like, what's the pop culture story that you're just not buying right now about self-care? I think that would be an interesting discussion for the future. What do you think?
Yep. It's not about buying products either.
It is not about purchasing products.
It's about this.
Yeah, and this.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for tuning in today. Tomorrow we have a mystery. So you're just gonna have to tune in and see what comes up.
Mystery
See what I throw at you tomorrow.
Nice.
Thanks for watching, and Yuletide blessings.